Revealed. 59 Why a woman's incredible journey for love leads to tragic outcome after 28 Why husband. Martha Johnson had always been the heartbeat of Maplewood. A dedicated community nurse at 59, she spent her days caring for others, often laughing with the elderly residents as they traded stories on their front porches. But after a painful divorce left her feeling adrift, she found herself in an unexpected place not just geographically, but emotionally, too. She was untethered, longing for a love she thought had run out of reach. Her heart was weary, yet her spirit remained hopeful. Then came Ethan. At 28, he was a handyman whose boyish charm matched his dimpled smile. Fresh from military service, he had the grace of someone who fought battles much tougher than fixing a leaky roof. Their first conversation happened on a balmy evening, just the two of them, with fireflies dancing in the background. People say love can reignite the soul, and sitting under the stars with Ethan after a long day of work felt like a candle being lit in her lifeless room. For the first time in years, Martha felt a spark, a fleeting glimpse of the woman she once was. Romance blossomed. She and Ethan exchanged dreams and laughter, emboldened by each other's presence. They wandered through the town, sharing secrets and desires, stealing kisses that felt too innocent for their age difference. But as whispers began to swirl around town like autumn leaves caught in the wind, Martha could feel judgment creeping closer, like a shadow she couldn't shake. How could she? What will people think? It shattered her joy piece by piece, leaving her questioning if she could truly embrace this love. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as Martha began to reclaim her joy, fate dealt a cruel blow. The sun poured down on a typical day when tragedy struck: a freak accident, a misunderstanding with a careless driver. The world felt as if it were spinning out of control as she clutched the photograph of Ethan, tears streaming down her face. The vibrant life she'd rekindled was snuffed out in an instant, leaving only a haunting silence. Breaking hearts are hard to mend, and the town wasn't quiet. The whispers grew louder and more invasive. Now, she stood alone, grappling with her grief and the unwanted scrutiny of those around her. Encased in sorrow, every memory of Ethan was a sharp reminder of love's sweet and bitter duality. Who had she become, and did she have the courage to honor the love that changed her life, despite the judgment? As she skimmed through messages from friends and scattered photographs, her heart panged painfully. Martha was at a crossroads, a moment where her path could either crumble under societal pressures or blossom in defiance. She longed for acceptance, for healing. But could she find a way to love, to embrace the vulnerability that came with it, and advocate for herself despite the noise? As a familiar face from her past unexpectedly reappeared, the question came crashing into her mind. What would it take for Martha Johnson to rise from the ashes and reclaim her narrative? Martha was standing in her kitchen, the faint smell of rosemary from last night's stew lingering in the air. The silence was thick, almost palpable. She picked up her phone, scrolling through the messages again, each one a bittersweet reminder of what was lost. Friends reaching out, asking if she was okay, offering condolences. But how could they understand? How could anyone comprehend the intensity of her grief? As she wiped a tear from her cheek, a soft knock echoed through her home. It felt like an intrusion in her painful solitude. She hesitated, the familiar ache tightening in her throat. Taking a deep breath, Martha opened the door. There stood her old friend, Caroline, with an armful of daisies, bright and full of life. They reminded Martha of sunny days, of laughter shared in younger years. "Martha," Caroline exclaimed, stepping inside and placing the flowers on the table. "I thought you might need some color in here." A forced smile crept onto Martha's face as she took in the gesture. "Thank you. They're beautiful, Caroline." But the conversation soon turned serious. Caroline sat across from her, concern etched on her face. "I know things have been so hard. I can't imagine what you're going through. But you have to let yourself feel and heal. It's okay to grieve. Martha's heart sank. Do you think it's okay to grieve for a love that felt so unconventional? What if people don't understand? Forget them. Caroline said fiercely. This is your life. Love is complicated. It's genuine, and it always will be. Don't let the town's whispers take away your right to feel. A wave of emotions washed over Martha. She had felt so alone in her grief, wrestling with the shame of loving Ethan. Yet, Caroline's words felt like a safety net, catching her from falling too far into despair. Could she really live in defiance of the judgment? As the days passed, Martha began to reflect more on her love with Ethan. Memories flooded in his laughter, the way his eyes sparkled when he talked about his dreams, the warmth of his hand in hers. One afternoon, she decided to visit the local park, a place where they had often strolled, hand in hand. The sun filtered through the trees, casting playful shadows on the ground. As she walked, she could almost hear Ethan's voice in the rustling leaves. Embrace this moment, Martha, it seemed to echo. Sitting on a bench, she closed her eyes, letting the warmth wash over her. She pictured Ethan beside her, telling her to chase her dreams, to let her heart guide her. With each breath, she began to understand that love wasn't confined to a physical presence. It was also in memories, in moments shared, and in the courage to move forward. But just as hope began to bloom, an unsettling thought pierced through a lingering burden. What if the whispers never stopped? What if the town never let go of their judgments? A shadow loomed over her newfound resolve. With her heart racing, she pulled out her phone, staring at Ethan's last text to her. It was simple, yet powerful. Always believe in your heart, Martha. As the sun began to set, painting the sky with shades of orange and pink, she felt a stirring inside. Maybe it was time to show the world who she truly was, to stand tall in her truth. But how would she begin? And just then, a figure approached in the distance. As it drew closer, the familiar outline stopped her heart. It was someone she never expected to see again, someone who might hold the key to her next chapter. Could this be the turning point she needed to reshape her story? Martha squinted through the fading light, her heart pounding in her chest. The figure drew nearer, and she felt a rush of conflicting emotions. It was Adam, Ethan's best friend. Years had passed since their last encounter, and the memory of him still stirred pain within her. What was he doing here? Hey, Martha, he said, his voice soft yet heavy with the weight of unspoken words. He looked older, too, the lines around his eyes etched deeper, as if he carried his own burdens. Adam, she managed, trying to steady her breath. What brings you here? He hesitated, glancing down at the ground as if searching for the right words among the fallen leaves. I heard about Ethan. I just wanted to check in on you. The sincerity in his tone pulled at something in her heart. A wave of memories crashed over her. Ethan had adored Adam. They had been inseparable, sharing dreams and secrets. But now, with Ethan gone, things felt different. Everything did. Thank you, Martha whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. It's been hard. I can't imagine, Adam replied, taking a seat beside her on the bench. The space between them felt charged, crackling with energy. I know I haven't been there for you for either of you, but I miss him every day. Martha wrapped her arms around herself, shutting out the loneliness that had wrapped around her like a tight shroud. We had our own struggles, she confessed, the honesty surprising even herself. But I loved him deeply. I still do. Adam nodded, his expression somber. He loved you too, more than you might realize. Their shared memories filled the air, bittersweet laughter mingling with the calm summer breeze. This connection felt grounding, yet alarming at the same time. It was too reminiscent of the love she had lost. I never told him how I felt after. Well, after you two took that trip, Adam said finally, his eyes on the horizon. He was my best friend, but he was so happy with you. I think he would want us to do what? Martha interrupted, a wave of panic crashing over her. To forget him and just move on? No, that's not what I mean. Adam's voice grew softer. I think he would want us to be okay, to support each other. He always worried about you. You were everything to him. Emotions swirled within Martha, churning like autumn leaves in a storm. In such a painful world, was it possible to allow herself to feel this connection with Adam? But how can we do that? She asked, her voice trembling. Who would understand? The town can be cruel. Adam turned towards her, his gaze intense. Who cares what they think? You deserve to feel joy again, Martha. Maybe we both do. Maybe we can help each other heal. A tentative hope flickered inside her, but it was quickly snuffed out by old doubts. The thought was both daring and terrifying. Could she really walk side by side with someone who shared a past so intertwined with her own love? Martha's heart raced as she weighed her uncertainty against a spark of excitement. Perhaps she didn't have to wallow in her grief alone. Perhaps Adam could help her plant new seeds of hope. Just as she was about to speak, a sharp sound interrupted a car screeching to a halt nearby. The sudden noise shattered her moment of clarity. "I think we should talk again," Adam said quickly, uncertainty now reflecting in his eyes as he got up from the bench. "I need to go for now, but don't shut me out, Martha." He turned to leave, but her heart cried out for him to stay. How could she let this opportunity slip away? "Wait," she called, standing up. But before she could complete her thought, he was already walking away, leaving her standing in that park, surrounded by memories and shadows. Could she face this new path, or would the fear of judgment keep her forever stuck in the past? The sun dipped below the horizon, and with it, her courage faltered. She suddenly felt lost, suspended in uncertainty. What would her next move be? Would she unravel the fear holding her back and embrace something new? Martha stood alone in the park, the cool evening breeze brushing against her skin, leaving a trail of goosebumps in its wake. The laughter of children echoed in the distance, a stark reminder of life continuing on as she lingered in a place caught between grief and possibility. She envisioned Adam's face as he walked away, uncertainty etched into his features. Her heart still beat rapidly as she replayed their conversation in her mind. Did she sense a flicker of hope, or was it just a cruel reminder of what could never be? The notion that Adam wanted to be there for her, it felt like a lifeline thrown in turbulent waters. But could she grasp it? Or would she let it slip through her fingers, just like Ethan had? With a sharp inhale, she looked back towards the direction Adam had come from. Every step he took away felt like, well, a small part of her soul walked away with him. Maybe he could help her lift the weight of sadness that clung to her. The idea was both thrilling and terrifying. She ran her fingers through her hair, contemplating if she should chase after him, or if she would find herself too exposed. Then, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, breaking her thoughts. It was a message from Anna, her well-meaning friend, who had always been eager to check in. "How are you doing? Want to grab a coffee tomorrow?" Martha chuckled bitterly. Coffee didn't sound like what she needed right now, but Anna had been her rock through these last few months. Still, she wondered if she could turn to Adam instead. What would it mean to lean on someone else, especially someone so tied to her past with Ethan? She tapped back a quick response, letting Anna know she would be busy. It felt like pulling a bandage off a fresh wound, but she needed the space. The thought of drowning in small talk about the mundane and ordinary had become unbearable. As twilight cloaked the park in shades of darkness, she picked up her purse and made her way to her car. Each step felt heavy, weighed down by the choices she faced. She couldn't keep waiting for fate to bring her what she needed. Maybe the very idea of letting Adam in was her first step towards healing, not just for her, but for both of them. But what if she was wrong? What if the judgment of others was indeed insurmountable? What would the townsfolk think if they caught wind of her talking to Ethan's best friend? Arriving at her car, she hesitated as uncertainty washed over her once more. She kicked the gravel beneath her feet, wrestling with a mix of desire and fear. Finally, she slid into the driver's seat, her fingers drumming nervously against the steering wheel. Before she drove away, she fumbled for her phone again. The weight of choices always seemed to linger in such moments. Scrolling through her contacts, she hesitated, her heart pounding harder as she found Adam's name. It felt so tantalizingly close, yet so impossibly distant. What would she say? Would he want to see her after all that had happened? Or had their sudden connection merely been an illusion birthed from grief? Martha took a deep breath, the scent of fallen leaves wafting through her open window. She had to make a choice. Either stay in the shadows or reach for something that could lead to healing. As she wrestled with her decision, a swell of courage suddenly surged within her. Instead of backing out of the parking space, she started the engine and drove, feigning confidence even as seeds of doubt attempted to take root in her heart. Determined, she parked outside the local diner where they used to gather with friends, hoping Adam might still be there. But what would he think if she showed up uninvited? The door swung open, the bell overhead jingling softly as she stepped inside. The familiar atmosphere felt comforting yet foreign. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for him, but what if he wasn't there? Caught in a moment of uncertainty, she felt the weight of the world tugging at her. Then, she spotted him at the end of the counter. Would this be the beginning of a new chapter, or just another twist in her painful journey? Her heart raced as she approached him, the air crackling with tension. Would one conversation change everything? Adam, she started, her voice barely above a whisper. But before she could continue, his head jerked in surprise, and the surprised look in his eyes sent her heart tumbling. And just like that, the moment hung in the air, pregnant with possibilities and fear. What would they share next? Would the past haunt them, or would they find a way forward together? Adam's surprise melted into recognition, and a soft smile slowly spread across his face. It was the kind of smile that warmed Martha from within, igniting a flicker of hope she had almost forgotten. But as she neared him, a wave of doubt crashed over her. What was she doing here, reaching out for someone from her past, the best friend of the man she had lost? "Martha," he said, his voice steady yet curious. "Is everything okay?" The concern in his brown eyes made her chest tighten. She hesitated, grappling with the whirlwind of feelings swirling inside her. Could she really pour out her heart to Adam? And what would that mean for them both? "I just wanted to talk," she managed, her voice trembling slightly. "Of course," he replied, gesturing to the seat next to him as he smiled warmly. "Grab a seat. I'm glad you came." Martha slid into the chair, her heart thumping loudly in her chest. She could hear the clink of dishes around her, the faint chatter of the diner's other patrons, but it all faded to a dull hum as she focused on the man in front of her. "Are you still working at the hardware store?" she began, desperate to fill the silence with something, but the small talk felt hollow as soon as it left her lips. Adam nodded, a flicker of nostalgia in his eyes. "Yeah, still there. It's strange sometimes. I feel like I'm just going through the motions, you know?" "Yeah," Martha replied, her voice softening. "I get that." There was a shared understanding in their silence. Ethan's absence loomed between them, a heavy fog that made each word laden with unspoken truths. "Is that why you're here?" Adam broke the silence, his brow furrowing with concern. "To escape?" Martha gulped, her pulse racing. I was hoping to find some sort of connection. I felt so isolated lately." His gaze softened further. "I know the feeling. It's been tough for me too, losing our best friend." A single tear slid down her cheek, a casualty of all the pent-up grief she had carried for so long. The moment caught her off guard, and she quickly wiped it away, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," she mumbled. "I didn't mean to cry. It's just everything feels so heavy." "Don't apologize," he said gently. "You're not alone in this. I've missed being able to talk." The sincerity in his voice sent a throbbing ache through her heart. There was nothing forced about his words, nothing wrapped in pretense. Here was a genuine man, a friend trapped in a maze of their shared past. "Martha," he continued, leaning closer, "what do you really want? Right now?" The question hung in the air, an invitation and a challenge. Deep down, she sensed that this was her chance not only to unveil her emotions, but to reconsider everything she thought she knew about herself. Could she dare to embrace the possibility of new beginnings, even if they seemed scarred by the past? "I want to feel alive again," she confessed, tears brimming in her eyes. "I want to remember what it's like to care." And just like that, an ounce of confidence bubbled up inside her. Adam's expression shifted, and for a moment, she saw a flicker of something profound in his eyes, understanding, maybe longing. "Then let us not let fear rule us," he proposed softly, his voice steady. "We can find our way through this together." For the first time, she felt a surge of hope. But just as quickly, doubt snaked its way back in. What did that mean for them? Before she could voice her concerns, the door swung open with a jingle, and Anna stepped inside, her gaze scanning the room and landing on Martha. Caught completely off guard, Martha felt like a deer in headlights. Would this moment of vulnerability come crashing down? Would Anna's presence rip open all the wounds she was trying to heal? "Martha," Anna called out, her cheerful voice cutting through the tension like a knife. Panic flooded her system, and she glanced at Adam. Would he understand the complexity of the moment they had just started to share? Would he want to continue if Anna interfered? Martha stammered, torn between staying with Adam and explaining to her friend. Suddenly, her courage felt like it might fizzle out just as quickly as it blossomed. What would she choose? How could she move forward when the past felt so intricately woven into the present? And in an instant, decisions loomed larger than life. Was she ready to risk it all, or would the opportunity slip away yet again? Martha's mind raced, the cheerful chatter of the diner clashing with the weight of her moment with Adam. Anna approached, her bright smile seemingly unaware of the turmoil swirling inside Martha. Martha, hey, what a surprise to see you here. Anna beamed as she reached their table. Quick glances flickered between her and Adam, a silent interrogation in the air. Hi, Anna, Martha replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign on her lips. What are you two talking about? Anna asked, curiosity dancing in her voice. Adam cleared his throat, and Martha felt her heart drop. She was terrified of how Anna would react to her conversation with Adam, and suddenly, all that courage felt precarious, like a tightrope about to snap. Oh, just catching up. It's been a while, Adam replied smoothly, but his eyes darted toward Martha. There was a question behind them. Was he nervous too? Right. Anna continued, oblivious to the tension. You both need to hang out more often. I can't believe you haven't been in touch. She pulled out a chair and sat down, the grin on her face almost blinding. Martha struggled to regain her composure. Anna's presence felt intrusive, yet comforting. It was a blend of safety in the familiar and the choking complexity of buried feelings. Yeah, it's life, I guess, Martha murmured, her gaze flitting nervously from Anna to Adam and back. Anna's enthusiasm didn't waver. Well, you know I'm always here if you need someone to talk to. Right, Adam? Of course, Adam replied, his smile slightly strained. The warmth in his eyes had been momentarily replaced by something unreadable as he navigated the unexpected trio that formed before him. Martha's heart sank a little. This was it. The moment where she had the chance to dive into something real felt smothered by the past and Anna's bright, oblivious optimism. Would she ever find a way to reconnect, to tear down the walls she had built? So what did I miss? Anna continued, oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around them. The lightness in her tone was a stark contrast to the heaviness in Martha's heart. Martha breathed deeply, desperate to find the right words. We were just discussing loss. The word hung between them, thick and heavy. Anna's expression softened as she turned her gaze toward Adam. Yeah, it's been hard for all of us since Ethan. I can't believe it's been months. Tell me about it. Adam echoed quietly, his voice tinged with a sadness that wrapped itself around the conversations they had interrupted. Martha felt herself retreat beneath layers of grief wrapped tightly around her heart. Would she be brave enough to carve out her truth, even in front of Anna? Her desperation clashed with fear. She wanted so much to step forward, yet there was a part of her anchored to the past, to Ethan. Martha. Adam nudged gently, breaking her train of thought. Are you okay? She looked into his eyes, searching for reassurance. In that moment, she realized he wasn't just the best friend of the man she had lost. He was a man grappling with his own wounds, someone who might understand when she faltered. As she contemplated her next move, Anna suddenly stood up. I'm going to grab a coffee. You two hold down the fort. With that, Anna walked away, leaving them in an awkward silence that echoed in the space between them. The atmosphere changed. Martha felt the edges of her resolve sharpening, the moment ripe with possibility. Maybe we should talk while our friend is away, Adam suggested tentatively, his proposal hanging in the air like an unspoken invitation. Yes, Martha replied, her voice suddenly stronger. I think we should. Just as Adam opened his mouth to speak, the door swung open again, and in walked a stranger, a tall man with an air of confidence that shifted the energy in the room. Martha's breath caught. It felt as if fate was putting another layer of complication between her and the moment she had longed for. What did this new development mean for her and Adam? Would they be left behind again, defeated by the arrival of something or someone new? Martha couldn't shake the feeling that the path to healing would mean embracing everything with open arms. But what if that choice took her somewhere she wasn't ready to go? Martha's heart raced as the stranger entered the diner, drawing several eyes in his direction. He was tall, with dark hair that fell just above his eyebrows and a striking blue shirt that seemed to catch the diner's fluorescent light. Martha felt an inexplicable pull of curiosity, coupled with the instinct to retreat. What was he doing here? Adam, too, visibly shifted in his seat, his curiosity piqued. Well, that's new, he murmured, almost to himself. Martha nodded, but her eyes remained fixed on the man. He scanned the diner with an air of confidence, his gaze finally landing on their table. For a fleeting moment, their eyes met, and she felt a jolt, as if a current had surged between them. She quickly looked away, embarrassed, as she felt a flush creep up her cheeks. What do you think he is here for? Adam asked, leaning slightly closer to Martha, his voice low, filled with intrigue. I have no idea, she replied quietly, still glancing at the man. It was strange, the tension she felt with Adam, the lightness of Anna's entrance earlier, all of it was replaced by a mix of excitement and uncertainty as she started to piece together her own feelings. The newcomer made his way to the counter, ordering with ease. There was something magnetic about him, but also an unsettling feeling. Did this mean yet another complication? Would he have a connection to her past that she was unaware of? Do you think he is just passing through? Adam asked, almost absent-mindedly as he focused on the man. Maybe, Martha said, shaking her head, her brow furrowing. I mean, people come and go all the time. True, he replied, his eyes still on the stranger. But why does it feel like he just shifted the ground beneath us? Martha looked at Adam, surprised he felt it too. Could this mere stranger bring a change in the air, a sense of uncertainty that filled the room like smoke? Their conversation hung heavy with unspoken words. Martha felt the pull of unresolved emotions between her and Adam, the shadows of their shared past looming closer, while this stranger breathed a new life into the mix. Look, do you want to start again? I mean, with us? Adam asked finally, folding his hands on the table. His vulnerability surprised her, and the sincerity of his gaze stirred something deep within her. But before she could summon a response, the stranger approached their table, his confident stride stopping before them as he flashed a charming smile. Mind if I join? He asked, his voice smooth and inviting, yet somehow unsettling. Martha opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. The moment felt surreal, like a movie scene unfolding where she had no script. Adam's eyes darted between her and the stranger, a protective instinct flickering in his gaze. Where Adam began, but the stranger interrupted. Just wanted to say hello. I couldn't help noticing you both seemed deep in conversation. His smile remained, but it did little to ease Martha's sudden anxiety. Martha exchanged an uncertain glance with Adam. There were questions buzzing in her mind. Who was this man? What did he want? More importantly, how would this impact the shaky ground she stood on with Adam? Actually, she started, but the words caught in her throat. This moment could either unravel her or push her toward a new beginning that what felt like an eternity ticked by. She sensed both Adam's concern and the stranger's simmering interest. It was a choice she had to make, and she felt its weight anchoring her to the seat. Maybe she finally breathed. It's time for the truth to come out. The words surprised her, bold and unfamiliar, like embarking on a journey she wasn't sure she was prepared for. And just like that, Martha knew the pendulum had swung. Would this encounter redefine her path forward? Or would it complicate things further than she ever anticipated? She took a deep breath as the stranger leaned closer, awaiting her response, and an unexpected thrill coursed through her veins. In that moment, Martha realized this was just the beginning. What other surprises lay ahead of her? Martha's heart raced even faster as the stranger leaned in, his bright blue eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that made the world around them fade away. The sound of the diner, the clinking of cutlery, the low hum of chatter turned into a mere whisper. Look, I want to impose if you aren't comfortable, but I'm new around here and could use some company, he said smoothly. Adam shifted in his seat, tension radiating from him like heat. Martha, he said, breaking the heavy silence. We should probably know, she interrupted, her voice surprisingly firm. I think it's okay. She surprised herself with her own assertion, feeling a strange pull towards the stranger that was hard to ignore. The stranger smiled wider, that charm flickering like a candle flame. I'm Dylan, he said, offering a hand. Martha, right? She took it, feeling the warm grip, and a spark ignited in her. Yes, I'm Martha, she replied hesitantly, her voice barely audible. Adam's eyes narrowed. and she could feel his concern weighing down on her. "Why don't we just stay in our own bubble?" he suggested, his tone a mix of protectiveness and exasperation. Martha bit her lip, conflicted. She wanted to explore this connection, yet the weight of Adam's expression pressed against her resolve. Dylan leaned back, nonchalant, as if sensing the tension without fully comprehending its stakes. "I promise I won't take up too much of your time," he said, and it felt oddly sincere. She looked at Adam, who was practically pleading with her through his gaze. He had his own vulnerabilities, the quickened breath, the way he fidgeted with his napkin. But at the same time, something deep inside Martha urged her to risk at this new energy that Dylan offered, something thrilling and unknown. She inhaled slowly, her heart hammering against her chest. "Actually," she said, surprising herself yet again, "I wouldn't mind chatting for a bit." Adam's brow furrowed, disappointment flashing across his face like lightning. But before he could respond, Dylan turned towards her, his expression brightening like a candle being lit. "Great. You seem like someone with fascinating stories." Martha felt warmth blossom in her chest. "Well, I might have a couple." "Oh, I bet you do," he replied, leaning in slightly closer, his gaze unwavering. "So what brings you here?" For a moment, she almost forgot Adam was still at the table. The longing to answer Dylan's question sparkled in her eyes. "I've lived here my whole life. Really," she started. "Just trying to figure things out right now." "Same," Dylan said, nodding. "Sometimes it feels like we're all just looking for a place to belong, doesn't it?" Martha met his gaze, feeling a flicker of understanding. "It really does." Adam coughed, breaking the spell. "Maybe we should ask about his story?" He jumped in, his tone half defensive, half curious. "Sure," Dylan said, the charm never fading. "But let me say this, I'm not just passing through. I'm looking for something, and who knows, maybe it's here." The implications of his words hung in the air, shifting the dynamic entirely. Martha felt the weight of both men's gazes on her, the contrasting urges of comfort and exploration to stick with what she knew or delve into the uncertain. Dylan turned his attention back to Martha, and something in her felt unsettled yet thrilled. "What is something you've always wanted to share, but never did?" The question lingered, pulling her deeper into her thoughts. It felt like a moment of truth or potentially a moment of loss. There was something about Dylan's presence that was intoxicating, but the risk made her stomach twist. Adam's eyes were broad now, filled with a mix of apprehension and concern. She had to decide. Did she continue down this new path, or retreat back into the safety of her known world? "Maybe," she began, searching for the right words. "How could she balance both worlds? Maybe it's time for me to confront what I've been avoiding." The air thickened with anticipation. Would she dare to expose her deepest fears here, in front of a man she barely knew and a man she thought she understood? As if, sensing her hesitation, Dylan's expression softened. "You only live once, right? Sometimes taking the leap is the way to discover who you really are." Martha hesitated, caught in the crossfire of her previous fears and the exhilarating call of the unknown. The moment stretched, the diner's ordinary sounds fading even further as she stood at the edge of something transformative. "Maybe," she whispered, "this could change everything." As the weight of her decision settled over her, she felt that familiar thrill, balancing on a tightrope between fear and hope. What would she uncover about herself in the next moments? Would it be a revelation, a confrontation, or something else entirely? Dylan leaned in, his curiosity alive in his eyes. "What have you been avoiding, Martha?" The diner felt stifling and electric all at once, as if they were the only two souls in the bustling space. Adam's presence faded into the background, a distant rumble of concern. Martha wrestled with her thoughts, her heart thudding louder now, each beat urging her to take this chance. "It sounds silly, really," she finally confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I've always wanted to." She paused, holding her breath. "I've always wanted to be an artist." Dylan's expression shifted, becoming more serious, more connected. "That's not silly at all. Art is powerful. It can tell stories that words sometimes can't." His words ignited something in her that had lain dormant for years. "I don't know why I let it slip away. Life took over, you know? Responsibilities, practicality, trust me. I know all about practicality," he replied, a hint of sorrow casting a shadow over his features. "But what is the point if we sacrifice our passions? It feels like we let pieces of ourselves die. Martha stared at him, caught off guard by the sincerity in his voice. Was this really a man she'd just met? His insight stirred feelings she'd long kept locked away. I guess I've been afraid. Afraid of failing, afraid of what others would think. Fear is a bad compass, Dylan said, leaning back slightly. It leads us away from who we really are. Maybe it's time to reclaim that part of yourself. Just then, Adam cleared his throat, breaking the moment. Right. Well, maybe we should remember why we're here. His tone was sharp, hinting at his concern about losing Martha to this captivating stranger. Martha cast a sideways glance at Adam, his protective instincts evident. They had shared so much over the years, built a life together. But did that mean she had to ignore her own dreams? Settling in the familiarity felt safer. Yet here was Dylan, challenging her to face what she had avoided for too long. I think he's right, Adam, Martha said, her voice steady and stronger than it had been. Maybe I do need to explore this side of me. She surprised herself as the words tumbled out, feeling a rush of brave vulnerability. Don't you see, Martha? Dylan spoke softly, almost pleadingly. Life is too short to hold back from being who you truly are. For a few heart-stopping moments, Martha held the attention of both men, each representing opposing paths in her life. Adam, the rock of reliability, the history they shared, and Dylan, the promise of exploration, the thrill of a life not yet lived. Maybe this, she started again, feeling the tension in the air. Maybe this is my moment to decide. Adam's face morphed into concern, deep lines of protectiveness furrowing his brow. Martha, you don't have to make any rash decisions. But her heart was racing on its own accord, the very prospect of pursuing her artistic dreams sending a vivid pulse through her veins. I want to try, Adam. And just like that, she felt weightless, even though she knew how heavy the decision really was. Dylan's presence was like a lighthouse illuminating the fogged path ahead. Would she have the courage to navigate it? Sometimes a leap of faith can lead to unexpected places, Dylan said, his voice steady, as if tempting the universe to reveal its plans. But just as her resolve began to solidify, the familiar buzz of her phone interrupted the moment, vibrating and illuminating her lap. The sight of it brought back the weight of her ordinary life crashing down on her. Can I take this? She asked, glancing at Adam and then at Dylan, each pulling her in different directions. Of course, Dylan said, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. As she picked up the phone, Martha felt the pull of her past and present collide within her. Was she ready to embrace this new identity and the future she longed for? Hello? She answered, her voice taut with anticipation. Hey, Martha. You won't believe the news. Her heart fluttered, uncertainty lurking just under the surface. The call could change everything. But the question remained, would she have the faith to take the leap? What awaited her on the other end of the line? Would it steer her back into the comfort of familiarity or push her further into the uncharted territory that Dylan represented? Martha stood in the diner, the phone pressed to her ear while her heart raced like never before. The conversation on the other end was a whirlwind of unexpected news. Martha, it's about Ethan's life insurance. There are funds that need to be addressed, and you're the beneficiary. Her breath hitching, she momentarily lost the thread of what was happening around her. The last remnants of her past rushed back in, pulling her from the moment she was trying to embrace. Oh, she whispered, the weight of emotions crashing down on her loss, love, and all that she had struggled through flooded her mind. It felt like time had stopped as she stood there. Are you there? The voice on the other end pulled her back into reality. Yes, I'm here, she replied softly, her eyes darting between Adam and Dylan, who were both watching her with varied expressions. Adam's full of worry, and Dylan's filled with an understanding that felt oddly comforting. The conversation continued, arranging details that felt simultaneously mundane and monumental. Yet, amid the drudgery, an undeniable realization flickered within her. She could no longer be defined by her grief or others' perceptions. She needed to step into the light for herself, not just to reclaim her narrative, but to honor it fully. As she hung up the phone, confusion and clarity mixed in her chest. I need to consider my next steps, she finally said, looking at Adam. I can't ignore the past, but I can't let it hold me back either. The surge of boldness surprised even Martha. Adam shifted in his chair, the worry lines fading slightly. What do you mean? He asked carefully, eyes flicking between her and Dylan, as if gauging the atmosphere. I think what I need to do is embrace who I am past, present, and future. She took a breath, feeling each word resonate within her. I want to explore my art, and I want to see what this connection with Dylan means. The tension in her voice spoke of a newfound strength, like the branches of a tree stretching toward the sun after a long winter. Dylan's gaze softened, and he nodded as if he had sensed her struggle through their brief interactions. You deserve to pursue what makes you feel alive, he said, the warmth of his words lifting some weight from her still-fraught heart. Then you, Martha said, her voice barely above a whisper. It feels good to finally say that. Adam remained silent, but the depth of understanding in his eyes brought warmth to her face. I respect that, Martha. I want you to remain happy. That's what Ethan would be wanted. His sincerity struck her, and she marveled at the bond they shared, even as they needed to forge their separate paths. I think we can both support each other in healing, she affirmed, not just for her, but for Adam too. You and I have lost something beautiful, and it's okay to face this together. The three of them caught their breath, as if realizing that the air had shifted. They were standing at the edge of a precipice, about to leap into the unknown, but with the promise of something better looming ahead. The fleeting weight of the townsfolk's judgments felt lighter, almost laughable now, like plucking a weed from a garden of wildflowers. I'll be here for you no matter what, Adam said, and for the first time, the truth landed between them without fear or resentment. Martha looked at Dylan, who wore an encouraging expression full of respect for the moment they were sharing. And I'll explore what's next, right alongside you both, she added, feeling the spark of new beginnings ignite in her spirit. Each of them slowly smiled, a collective shift in the atmosphere, and for the first time in a long while, Martha felt the clarity of possibilities surging. The light filtering through the diner's window felt like the dawn of a fresh start. Whatever was next, she knew she was ready to embrace it. Starting with her art, those long-held desires would be poured into vibrant colors on fresh canvases. Martha realized she would chase those dreams fiercely, allowing herself to be vulnerable with both the memories of Ethan and the connections unfolding around her. The past would always hold meaning, yet it would not define her future. As they wrapped up their meal and stepped out into the cool evening air, laughter bubbled forth, a sign of healing, a beacon of promise. In that moment, the three of them chose life, joy, and each other. Let us make art happen, and let us make some noise, Dylan grinned, and Martha laughed, such sweetness, glad for the companionship along the winding journey that lay ahead. And just as they began to walk away from the diner, Martha realized that it was in reclaiming her own story that she found others willing to help her tell it anew. Every step forward felt like freedom, each moment a brushstroke in the evolving canvas of her life. This was just the beginning. Don't wait, not even one more second. Hit that subscribe button immediately to stay tuned for more exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the love. I want to hear your thoughts too. Comment below with your feelings about Martha's journey. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need encouragement in their own lives. This is the moment to show your support for stories that inspire transformations.